George Lucas is a name synonymous with Hollywood legend. As the creator of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, he transformed the film industry, built an empire, and reshaped pop culture in ways that will echo for generations. His vision gave us lightsabers, the Force, and characters so beloved that they've become modern mythology. But behind the galaxy far, far away, George Lucas has also been one of the most polarizing figures in Hollywood. For decades, he's been painted as a genius storyteller with a flair for technology, yet also as a difficult collaborator who demanded perfection, often at the expense of relationships. While millions of fans worshipped him, not everyone in Hollywood shared that admiration. Some actors found his directing style robotic, his dialogue stiff, and his expectations impossible. And as Lucas himself has hinted over the years, there were certain actors he simply couldn't stand working with. Now at 81, George Lucas has reportedly opened up about those conflicts, finally revealing the 6 actors who pushed his patience to the breaking point. From early clashes during the making of Star Wars to later tensions on prequel sets, these stories shed light on the hidden struggles behind cinema's greatest saga. So who were these actors? Why did Lucas despise working with them? And how did these conflicts shape not only his films, but his legacy? Before he was the mastermind behind one of the biggest entertainment franchises in history, George Lucas was just a quiet, small-town kid from Modesto, California. Born in 1944, Lucas never seemed destined for Hollywood greatness. In fact, he was far more interested in cars and racing than filmmaking. But a near-fatal car accident in his teens shifted the course of his life forever. Instead of chasing speed, Lucas pursued storytelling, enrolling in film school at USC. At the time, one of the few places in America offering serious programs in cinema. There, Lucas found his passion. He began experimenting with short films, obsessing over visual storytelling, and embracing a unique style that blended technology with narrative innovation. He became friends with other aspiring filmmakers like Francis Ford Coppola, who quickly recognized his talent. Together, they dreamed of changing Hollywood. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Lucas broke through with THX 1138, a dystopian film that, while not a box office hit, impressed critics with its bold vision. But it was his next project, American Graffiti, 1973, that truly put him on the map. The nostalgic coming-of-age story not only became a massive success, but also showcased Lucas's ability to tap into universal feelings of youth, longing, and change. It gave him the credibility and the funding he needed for his most ambitious idea yet. That idea, of course, was Star Wars. When Lucas pitched the project in the mid-1970s, most studios laughed him out of the room. A space opera filled with aliens, droids, and mystical powers seemed doomed to fail. But Lucas was relentless. He finally convinced 20th Century Fox to take a chance, and the rest, as they say, is history. Released in 1977, Star Wars shattered box office records, revolutionized special effects, and turned its cast of mostly unknown actors into global icons. But Lucas's success was not just about storytelling, it was about innovation. He founded Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, a company that would become the gold standard for visual effects. He also pioneered sound design with THX and transformed movie merchandising, turning action figures, toys, and collectibles into billion-dollar industries. In many ways, Lucas didn't just create movies, he reinvented Hollywood itself. Yet for all his brilliance, Lucas was often described as awkward and distant on set. He wasn't the kind of director who gave flowery speeches to inspire his actors. Instead, he was technical, precise, and focused on the mechanics of filmmaking. Many performers found his style frustrating. His notes often boiled down to faster or more intense, leaving actors struggling to interpret his vision. Some flourished under his direction, but others clashed with him in ways that left lasting scars. And that's where the tension in George Lucas's story begins. Because while the public saw him as a visionary genius, some actors saw him as cold, inflexible, and at times, downright impossible to work with. Over the years, whispers circulated about the stars Lucas clashed with. Whispers that have now, at 81, become revelations. The original Star Wars trilogy was a groundbreaking achievement, But behind the camera, it wasn't always the dream production fans imagine today. George Lucas, a visionary with precise ideas, often found himself at odds with the very people who brought his characters to life. His directing style, combined with the immense pressure of making such an ambitious project, created friction with several actors, some of which turned into full-blown resentments. Lucas was notorious for giving minimal direction to his cast. His most common notes, faster and more intense, were legendary on set, but not in a flattering way. Many actors joked about how unhelpful they were, while others grew genuinely frustrated. Lucas was a filmmaker who thought visually, not emotionally, and this often left actors feeling stranded, unsure how to breathe life into dialogue that was already clunky and difficult to deliver. Harrison Ford famously quipped, "George, you can type this as you, but you sure can't say it." The technical demands of the films also strained relationships. Lucas prioritized special effects, set design, and world building over the natural rhythm of performance. Actors often performed against blank blue screens or with minimal context, forced to trust Lucas's vision without much guidance. For experienced performers trained in traditional acting methods, this was maddening. It wasn't just the work environment, it was the long hours, tight budgets, and the constant doubt from studios and the press. The original Star Wars was plagued with production challenges, and tensions on set were high. Some actors admired Lucas's determination, but others thought he was stubborn, unwilling to listen, and almost robotic in his interactions. The prequel trilogy decades later brought new conflicts. By then, Lucas was no longer the underdog director trying to prove himself. He was a billionaire mogul with complete creative control. Without studio executives to challenge him, Lucas pushed his vision harder than ever. The result? A heavy reliance on CGI, stilted dialogue, and performances that were often criticized as wooden. Natalie Portman, Hayden Christensen, and even seasoned actors like Samuel L. Jackson struggled under Lucas's direction. Portman later admitted that after The Phantom Menace, her career suffered because critics dismissed her performance, something she subtly attributed to Lucas's writing and directing. Over time, these frustrations became open secrets. Cast members would smile during press tours, but behind closed doors, some rolled their eyes at Lucas's methods. The more Lucas doubled down on his creative authority, the more certain actors grew to resent working with him. And Lucas himself, though rarely outspoken, quietly admitted that there were actors he had no desire to work with again. At 81, those tensions are finally surfacing as Lucas reflects on his career. The genius who built galaxies also carried grudges, and he hasn't been shy about hinting at the people who tested his patience the most. The stage is now set to look at the 6 actors who ended up on Lucas's bad side, some from the original trilogy, others from the prequels, and all of them linked by a shared frustration, clashing with the man who created Star Wars. For decades, George Lucas avoided openly criticizing the performers who brought his characters to life. But over the years, stories slipped through. Comments in interviews, remarks from co-stars, and whispered accounts from the set. Now, looking back at 81, Lucas has reportedly acknowledged the 6 actors he found most difficult to work with. Some clashes were professional, others personal, but all left a mark on his filmmaking journey. Number 1. Harrison Ford. It may surprise fans, given Ford's iconic role as Han Solo, but Lucas and Ford had a rocky relationship. Ford famously mocked Lucas's dialogue, telling him, "You can write this stuff, George, but you sure can't say it." Lucas, who took pride in his scripts, didn't take kindly to the criticism. Though their partnership endured, Ford's open defiance irritated Lucas to no end. Number 2. Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher brought Princess Leia to life with charm and wit. But behind the scenes, she and Lucas often clashed. Fisher bristled at Lucas's rigid control and his infamous insistence on odd details, like banning her from wearing a bra under the white costume. Fisher, known for her sharp humor, never held back her criticism, which sometimes rubbed Lucas the wrong way. Number 3. David Prowse. The man behind Darth Vader's imposing physical presence became one of Lucas's most disliked collaborators. Prowse often leaked plot details to the press, sometimes accidentally, sometimes not. Lucas eventually banned him from official Star Wars events. The animosity between them was no secret, with Lucas regarding him as untrustworthy. Number 4. Jake Lloyd, the young actor who played Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace, became a lightning rod for criticism after the film's release. But Lucas himself was reportedly frustrated with Lloyd's inexperience and awkward performance. Though Lloyd was only a child, Lucas's relentless perfectionism made their working relationship strained, and he later expressed regret about the casting. Number 5. Natalie Portman. Despite her undeniable talent, Portman struggled with Lucas's writing and directing. Her wooden performances in the prequels became infamous, and while fans blamed her, Portman later revealed how difficult it was to work under Lucas's rigid CGI-heavy environment. Lucas in turn felt she never fully embraced his vision, and their relationship remained cool. Number 6. Alec Guinness. Perhaps the most surprising name on the list is Sir Alec Guinness, the legendary actor who played Obi-Wan Kenobi. While audiences adored him, Guinness openly disliked the role, once calling the dialogue rubbish and describing the work as tedious. Lucas admired Guinness's talent but privately admitted he resented the actor's constant disdain for the project. These 6 names reveal a pattern. George Lucas's brilliance often collided with strong personalities, skeptical veterans, or performers overwhelmed by his unusual directing style. He wasn't the kind of filmmaker who coaxed greatness out of his actors. He expected them to simply fit into his vision. When they resisted, tensions rose, and resentments followed. Even now, Lucas hasn't gone into vicious detail. He isn't one to launch public feuds. But acknowledging these 6 actors shows a rare honesty. Even the greatest cinematic universes were built with conflict, frustration, and fractured relationships behind the camera.